Your emotional reactions are not yours. They were programmed into you by people who wanted to control your behavior. And you have been unconsciously following their script your entire life. Every time you get angry at traffic, stressed about deadlines, hurt by criticism, or excited by praise, you are dancing to someone else's music. The people who truly understand human nature never react the way you expect them to. And this gives them an almost supernatural advantage in every situation. They have learned to disconnect from the emotional puppet strings that keep everyone else predictable and powerless. There was once a fierce storm that swept through a forest with winds so powerful they could uproot centuries-old trees. When morning came, the mighty oak trees lay scattered across the ground, their massive trunks split and broken. But standing tall among the wreckage was a simple bamboo grove, swaying gently in the breeze as if nothing had happened. The oak trees had tried to fight the storm with their strength, while the bamboo had learned something far more valuable, the art of bending without breaking. This is the first lesson you must understand about acting as if nothing bothers you. It is not about becoming hard like the oak tree. It is about becoming flexible like the bamboo. When life throws its storms at you, when people disappoint you, when circumstances seem to conspire against your plans, your power lies not in your ability to resist these forces, but in your capacity to remain unmoved at your core while adapting on the surface. Most people have this backwards. They think that being unbothered means becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. They believe it means building walls around their heart so thick that nothing can penetrate them. But this approach creates the oak tree mentality, rigid, brittle, and destined to break when the storm becomes too strong. These people may appear strong on the outside, but inside they are accumulating stress, resentment, and emotional poison that will eventually destroy them from within. The bamboo approach is different. The bamboo feels the wind just as much as the oak tree does. It experiences the full force of the storm. But it has learned a secret that the oak tree never discovered: how to bend without breaking, how to experience without being consumed, how to feel without being controlled by those feelings. When I say act as if nothing bothers you, I am not telling you to become numb to life. I am teaching you to become the master of your own emotional state. There is a vast difference between not caring and not being controlled by your caring. There is a world of difference between suppressing your emotions and managing them with wisdom and skill. Your brain has two primary systems for processing information: the reactive system and the responsive system. The reactive system is fast, emotional, and designed for survival. When something threatens you or challenges you, this system wants to fight, flee, or freeze immediately. It operates on impulse and instinct. The responsive system is slower, more thoughtful, and designed for success. It takes time to process information, consider options, and choose the best course of action based on your values and long-term goals. Most people live their entire lives dominated by their reactive system. Something happens, and they immediately react with anger, fear, frustration, or panic. They allow their emotions to hijack their decision-making process. They become slaves to their immediate feelings, and their life becomes a series of emotional roller coasters that they never learn to control. But when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you are training yourself to shift from reactive mode to responsive mode. You are giving yourself the gift of time, the time to process, to think, to choose your response rather than being forced into a reaction. This is not about denying your emotions or pretending they do not exist. This is about acknowledging them without being controlled by them. Think about the last time someone said something that hurt your feelings or made you angry. What was your immediate impulse? Probably to defend yourself, to strike back, to prove them wrong, or to withdraw and sulk. These are all reactive responses. They are normal, natural, and completely understandable. But they are also completely optional. What if, instead of reacting immediately, you took a deep breath and thought to yourself, This person's words cannot touch who I really am unless I give them that power. What if you recognize that their behavior says more about their internal state than it does about your worth or value? What if you chose to respond from a place of strength and confidence rather than from a place of hurt and defensiveness? This is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. It means that while you may feel the initial sting of disappointment, criticism, or setback, you do not allow that feeling to determine your next move. You feel it, you acknowledge it, and then you consciously choose how to respond based on who you want to be, not on what just happened to you. Your external composure has a profound effect on your internal reality. When you train yourself to remain calm on the outside, something remarkable happens on the inside. You actually become calmer. Your nervous system begins to regulate itself. Your stress hormones decrease. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your decision-making improves. Your confidence grows. This is not magic or positive thinking. This is neuroscience. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what you are experiencing and what you are expressing. When you express calmness, your brain begins to create the biochemical conditions for actual calmness. When you act confident, your brain starts producing the neurochemicals associated with confidence. When you behave as if you are in control, your brain begins to believe that you actually are in control. But this process requires practice, patience, and persistence. You cannot expect to master this skill overnight, especially if you have spent years reacting impulsively to every challenge and disappointment in your life. Like any other skill worth developing, this one requires daily practice and commitment to growth. On January 15, 2009, Captain Chesley Sullenberger was piloting U.S. Airways Flight 1549 when both engines failed after striking a flock of geese just minutes after takeoff from LaGuardia Airport. In that moment, 155 lives hung in the balance. The plane was losing altitude rapidly, and there were no good options for landing. What happened next has become legendary, not just because of the successful water landing on the Hudson River, but because of what it reveals about human composure under ultimate pressure. Listen to the audio recordings from that day. Captain Sullenberger's voice never wavers. His tone never changes. He speaks with the same calm professionalism, whether he is requesting takeoff clearance or announcing that he is going to attempt a water landing. There is no panic, no shouting, no emotional breakdown. He sounds exactly the same discussing engine failure as he would discussing the weather forecast. This was not a man without emotions. This was not someone who did not understand the gravity of the situation. This was a human being who had trained himself so thoroughly that his composure had become automatic. Even in the face of potential death, he had learned to separate his emotional experience from his behavioral response. He felt everything, but he was controlled by nothing. This is the level of mastery I want you to understand is possible for you. Not just in life or death situations, but in every situation where life tests your character. Because here is what most people do not realize. Circumstances do not create your character, they reveal it. The pressure you face today is not destroying who you are. It is showing you who you have become up to this point. When someone cuts you off in traffic, that moment does not make you angry. It reveals the anger that was already living inside you, waiting for the right trigger. When your boss criticizes your work unfairly, that situation does not create your insecurity. It exposes the insecurity that was already there, ready to surface when challenged. When your relationship faces conflict, those arguments do not generate your fear of abandonment. They uncover the fear that has been shaping your behavior all along. This understanding changes everything. It means that your emotional reactions are not happening to you, they are happening through you. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a participant in creating your experience of those circumstances. And if you are a participant, that means you have power. It means you can change the game. But changing requires you to understand the difference between emotional detachment and emotional unavailability. Many people, when they first learn about acting unbothered, make the mistake of shutting down completely. They become cold, distant, and disconnected from their own hearts and the hearts of others. This is not mastery. This is emotional cowardice disguised as strength. True emotional mastery means you can feel deeply without being controlled by your feelings. You can care passionately about outcomes without being destroyed when those outcomes do not match your expectations. You can love fully without becoming desperate or possessive. You can engage completely without losing yourself in the process. Think of your emotions like weather patterns. Weather happens, storms come, sunshine appears, clouds gather, rain falls, wind blows, but the sky itself remains unchanged by any weather pattern. The sky does not become the storm, even though the storm moves through it. The sky does not become the sunshine, even though the sunshine fills it. The sky remains the sky, constant and steady, providing the space for all weather to exist and pass through. You must learn to be the sky, not the weather, your anger, your joy, your fear, your excitement. These are all weather patterns moving through the sky of your consciousness. They are temporary, they are natural, and they will pass. But you are not any of these emotions. You are the awareness in which they arise and the space through which they move. When you master this understanding, something powerful happens. You stop taking your emotions so personally. You stop identifying so completely with your immediate feelings. You start to see them as information rather than as commands. Your anger tells you that something needs attention, but it does not tell you to lash out. Your fear tells you to be cautious, but it does not tell you to run away. Your sadness tells you that something matters to you, but it does not tell you to give up hope. This is how you begin to separate your identity from your immediate circumstances. You are not your job title, your bank account balance, your relationship status, or your current problems. You are the consciousness that experiences all of these things, but you are not defined by any of them. In ancient Japan, there lived a tea ceremony master named Rikyu who served under a powerful warlord during a time of great political upheaval. One day, while traveling to perform a ceremony for visiting dignitaries, Rikyu encountered a group of samurai warriors who recognized him and decided to test his composure. They surrounded him, drew their swords, and demanded that he prove his skill not with tea, but with combat. The tea master looked at the drawn blades, felt the weight of the moment, and then did something completely unexpected. He sat down cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and began to perform an imaginary tea ceremony. His movements were precise, graceful, and completely unhurried. He lifted invisible cups, poured invisible tea, and served invisible guests with the same reverence and attention he would give to the emperor himself. The samurai watched in fascination as this man, faced with potential death, chose to demonstrate mastery over his own mind rather than beg for his life or attempt to fight. His calmness was so complete, his focus so pure, that the warriors found themselves lowering their weapons. They had expected fear, pleading, or aggression. Instead, they witnessed something far more powerful. A human being who had achieved such inner control that external threats could not disturb his peace. This story illustrates a profound truth about human psychology. When you remain calm in situations where others expect you to be disturbed, you gain a strategic advantage that goes far beyond the immediate moment. Your composure becomes a form of psychological leverage that influences every interaction and shapes every outcome in your favor. Most people reveal their weaknesses through their reactions. They show you exactly what bothers them, what they fear, and what they need. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain unmoved, you force them to reveal their hand while keeping your own cards hidden. You maintain your power while they exhaust theirs through emotional display. But this advantage only works when your composure is genuine, not performed. People can sense the difference between authentic calm and artificial control. True, unshakable peace comes from inner work, not outer acting. It emerges from a deep understanding of your own worth and purpose, not from a desperate attempt to appear strong. When you genuinely act as if nothing bothers you, several things happen simultaneously. First, You create space for solutions to emerge. Panic and emotional reactivity cloud your judgment and limit your options. Calmness clarifies your thinking and opens your mind to possibilities you could not see while agitated. Second, you become a magnet for the right people and opportunities. Others are naturally drawn to those who remain steady in turbulent times. They want to be around someone who can maintain perspective when everything seems to be falling apart. Your composure becomes a beacon that attracts resources, support, and collaboration. Third, you influence the emotional climate of every room you enter. Emotions are contagious. Anxiety spreads anxiety. Anger multiplies anger. But peace creates peace. When you refuse to be dragged into drama, conflict, or chaos, you often diffuse the entire situation simply through your presence. Fourth, you protect your energy for what truly matters. Every emotional reaction drains your mental and physical resources. When you stop wasting energy on things you cannot control, you have more power available for the things you can influence. Your focus becomes laser sharp because it is not scattered across a dozen different emotional responses. This does not mean you become indifferent to injustice or unmoved by genuine needs. It means you respond to these situations from a place of strength rather than weakness, from wisdom rather than impulse, from love rather than fear. Your actions become more effective because they are chosen consciously rather than triggered automatically. Now that you understand the principles, you need practical steps to build this capacity in your daily life. The ability to remain unbothered is not a gift that some people are born with and others are denied. It is a skill that can be developed through consistent practice and intentional training. Your transformation begins each morning before you even get out of bed. The first thoughts you think and the first emotions you allow to dominate your mind set the tone for your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately check their phones, flooding their consciousness with other people's problems, opinions, and agendas before they have even established their own center. Instead, create a morning ritual that builds your emotional strength. Spend the first few minutes of each day in silence, connecting with your inner peace before you connect with the outer world. This is not about meditation or spiritual practice. This is about mental conditioning. You are training your mind to find stability within itself rather than seeking it from external circumstances during this quiet time. Mentally rehearse the day ahead. Think about the meetings you will attend, the people you will encounter, the challenges you might face. But instead of worrying about these situations, practice responding to them with composure. See yourself remaining calm when someone disagrees with you. Visualize yourself staying focused when unexpected problems arise. Mental rehearsal builds neural pathways that make actual composure more automatic when real situations occur throughout your day. Treat every minor irritation as training ground for major challenges. When you are stuck in traffic, practice patience instead of frustration. When someone is rude to you in a store, respond with kindness instead of defensiveness. When technology fails at the worst possible moment, maintain your sense of humor instead of losing your temper. These small daily exercises strengthen your emotional muscles just like physical exercises strengthen your body. Pay attention to your breathing patterns during stressful moments. Most people hold their breath or breathe shallowly when they feel threatened or overwhelmed. This sends panic signals to your brain and makes calm thinking nearly impossible. Learn to breathe deeply and slowly, especially when you feel your emotions beginning to escalate. Your breath is the bridge between your conscious mind and your automatic nervous system. When you control your breathing, you influence your entire physiological response to stress. Develop what I call disappointment immunity. This means training yourself to receive bad news, setbacks, and failures without allowing them to knock you off balance. When something does not go according to your plans, practice saying to yourself, "This is interesting information, but it does not change who I am or what I am capable of achieving." Disappointment becomes data rather than devastation. Create a personal philosophy that nothing external can disturb your inner peace. Write it down, memorize it, repeat it until it becomes part of your identity. Something like, "I am responsible for my responses, not for controlling outcomes. I choose my attitude regardless of my circumstances. My worth is not determined by my temporary situations. I remain calm because calmness is my natural state. Remember that this skill develops gradually through consistent practice, not through occasional bursts of effort. Every time you choose composure over reactivity, you strengthen this capacity. Every time you respond instead of react, you build confidence in your ability to handle whatever life presents. Every time you remain unmoved by external turbulence, you prove to yourself that your peace comes from within, not from your circumstances aligning perfectly with your preferences. In the Caribbean, there is a fisherman named Carlos who has spent 40 years navigating the waters around his small island home. He has survived more hurricanes than most meteorologists have studied. And his secret is not avoiding storms, it is understanding them. Carlos knows that every hurricane, no matter how fierce or destructive it appears from the outside, has a center of perfect calm called the eye, in the eye of the storm. The wind stops howling, the rain stops falling, and the sea becomes as smooth as glass. Birds can fly normally, and experienced sailors can navigate safely, even while chaos rages just miles away in every direction. Carlos learned early in his career that the key to surviving any storm is not running from it, but positioning yourself in its eye. He studies weather patterns not to avoid hurricanes, but to find their centers. While other boats flee to harbor and pray for safety, Carlos sails directly toward the storm's heart, where he finds perfect peace in the midst of perfect chaos. One particular hurricane season brought 3 major storms in rapid succession. The first storm caught most of the fishing fleet off guard. Boats were damaged, some were lost, and several fishermen were injured trying to outrun the winds. The second storm found the harbor crowded with vessels seeking shelter, but the crowding caused collisions and damage as boats were pushed together by the waves. By the third storm, other fishermen began to notice something remarkable about Carlos. While everyone else was battening down and preparing for the worst, he was preparing his nets and checking his equipment. Are you crazy? They asked him. It's a Category 4 hurricane heading straight for us, and you getting ready to fish? Carlos smiled and pointed to his weather charts. I am not going fishing in the hurricane, he said calmly. I am going fishing in the eye of the hurricane. While you are all fighting the storm, I will be working in the calmness at its center. The fish will be concentrated there, confused and easy to catch. When the storm passes, I will return with the largest catch of the season while you are all still repairing your boats. And that is exactly what happened. Carlos positioned his boat in the eye of the storm and spent 6 hours fishing in conditions so calm they seemed impossible given the destruction happening just 10 miles away in any direction. He returned to port with a catch so large it fed the entire island for a week. While other fishermen were still pumping water out of their damaged vessels, the other fishermen thought Carlos was lucky. But Carlos knew better. He had learned to become the eye of his own storm. He had discovered that you can find perfect peace in the center of any chaos if you know how to position yourself correctly. This is what your life can become when you master the art of acting as if nothing bothers you. You become the eye of every storm that tries to disturb your peace. Economic uncertainty swirls around you, but your financial decisions remain steady and wise. Relationship conflicts rage in your social circle, but your love remains constant and unconditional. Career pressures mount in your industry, but your work performance stays excellent and your reputation remains untarnished. Health challenges may threaten your body, but your spirit stays strong and your hope remains unshakable. People will watch you navigate difficulties with grace and assume you are either incredibly lucky or naturally gifted with some special ability they lack. But you will know the truth. You have simply learned to position yourself in the eye of every storm. You have trained yourself to find the calm center that exists within every chaotic situation. This transformation affects every area of your life in ways that compound over time. In your relationships, you become the person others turn to for stability and wisdom. When families are falling apart around you, yours grows stronger because you refuse to let external pressures create internal conflict. When friends are stressed and anxious, they seek your presence because your calmness helps them find their own center. Your romantic relationship deepens because your partner feels safe with someone who does not react dramatically to every challenge life presents. In your career, you become the person who gets promoted during difficult times because managers know they can count on you to remain effective under pressure. While your colleagues are panicking about changes in the industry, you are adapting and finding opportunities within the disruption. Your reputation becomes that of someone who can be trusted with important responsibilities because you have proven that external circumstances do not control your internal performance. In your personal growth, you develop what psychologists call resilience. But what you will know as unshakability. Setbacks become setups for comebacks. Failures become feedback that guides your next attempt. Criticism becomes information that helps you improve rather than wounds that make you withdraw. You stop taking things personally because you understand that other people's behavior is always more about their internal state than about your worth or action. Your health improves because chronic stress stops poisoning your system. Your sleep becomes deeper because your mind is not racing with worries and reactions from the day. Your energy increases because you are not constantly draining yourself through emotional reactivity. Your immune system strengthens because your body is not constantly flooded with stress hormones. Your financial situation improves because you make decisions from wisdom rather than from fear or greed. You invest when others are panicking and selling. You save when others are spending impulsively to cope with their emotions. You negotiate from strength because desperation does not drive your choices. You create multiple income streams because you are not paralyzed by the fear of change or the fear of failure. Most importantly, you develop an unshakable sense of your own identity and purpose. You know who you are regardless of what happens to you. You know what you value regardless of what others think of your choices. You know where you are going regardless of what obstacles appear on your path. This internal clarity becomes your compass through every storm life can create. But remember this, becoming the eye of the storm does not mean you stop caring about the world around you. It means you care from a place of strength rather than weakness. You help others from abundance rather than neediness. You serve from love rather than obligation. You give from overflow rather than emptiness. Starting today, make the decision that nothing external will control your internal state. Not your boss, not your bank account, not your family drama, not your health challenges, not your political environment, not your social media feed, nothing. You are taking back control of the only thing you truly can control. Your response to whatever life presents. When you wake up tomorrow morning, remember Carlos sailing toward the eye of the storm while everyone else ran for shelter. Remember the bamboo bending in the wind while the oak trees broke and fell. Remember Captain Sullenberger's calm voice announcing an emergency landing as if he were ordering coffee. Remember the tea master performing his ceremony in the face of drawn swords. These are not stories about extraordinary people with special gifts. These are stories about ordinary people who learned an extraordinary skill, the ability to remain unmoved by external circumstances while staying fully engaged with life. This skill is available to you. This power is within your reach. This transformation can begin today. Act as if nothing bothers you. Not because you do not care, but because you care too much to let temporary circumstances steal your permanent peace. Become the eye of your own storm and watch how the world responds to your unshakable calm.